Welcome back to No Rhyme, No Reason. I'm your host, Aaron Bergeron, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Popeye.
Heyo!
And Ernesto.
Yellow.
All right, so from week one, Popeye's love was the video game Call of Duty Black Ops 4, and that came out this week. So we're going to take a little bit of time to talk about it, and I guess we're going to do a quick love-hate about it, I guess. And I'll have Popeye start us off since this was his love from week one.
All right, so Black Ops, the thing that I loved about Black Ops right now, I love the game and everything, but I did get the collector's edition, so getting all that stuff was pretty awesome to me. It's my first one that I bought. I did get the game later than you guys since you guys got the digital, but I kind of liked opening the chest that comes with it, the mystery box. And then all of the little stuff inside was pretty cool. My hate right now, I think there's a lot that needs to be fixed with the game. I would say one of the bigger problems would be spawning. I think the spawn flipping is it's like back and forth. You can be all right 1 second, and then 2 seconds later, a whole team spawns right beside you or right behind you, and then you get killed. And then it can happen like 3 or 4 times in one game, which from going from Modern Warfare Remastered to this, it's even in Black Ops 3, you didn't really have that problem. Maybe flip the spawn 2 or 3 times, but not as much as Black Ops 4. So hopefully there's a patch to get that worked out. But what about you, Wayne? What's your love and what's your hate?
So I guess my love for the game is I find myself more and more as I get busier and busier. The only time I really play video games is when I'm playing with other people. So if no one else is playing or my wife is not playing with me, I just don't play video games. So it seems like everyone I know has this game. People from work, people that I used to know, you guys, like it's a very popular game. So I just like that I'm playing with other people because that's really the only way I enjoy video games anymore. I guess for a hate about the game, Popeye's points are very valid. But I think I just hate that it seems more and more that video games, especially like this, are just like giant paywalls. And I can already see that with this game. There's just going to be so many things that, you buy a $60 game and then you have to spend another like $60 to get more parts of the game. It just seems like a ridiculous proposition, and it's more and more games are like that. And it's like mobile games are terrible at it too. It's just like you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on one game these days, and that's just, there's people who do it, and it's basically highway robbery. So I don't know, obviously none of us really fall into that trap, I guess, but it's like there's people out there and it's sort of messed up. I mean, I guess it's a business, I get it, but at the same time, some of it is ridiculous.
Actually, a funny update that I heard about today, I was watching a video on it. Apparently, the care package system is going to be more geared like Fortnite. So it's going to base it on these season passes that you have to buy. So a season, I think somebody said like 4 to 6 weeks, and then you have to buy it again. I don't know how much they're going to cost if we're going to have to keep rebuying these seasons, but I think Treyarch posted that that's how the loot system is going to be geared towards. So you're going to buy a season pass, and then all these points that you accumulate unlocks items that you can use. And if you don't have the battle pass or whatever it's called, then you don't get this. You have to generically work towards that in their own words. So I think that's what we're going to be looking at as far as micro purchases in the game.
Not for me. I'll be when I say see it.
Yeah, not for me either. This is Ernesto, everybody. If you didn't catch that contrast from me to Wayne.
You know why everyone's surprised that it's you? It's because they haven't heard a single beep yet.
Yeah, they probably thought you were out of the podcast for this episode.
Yeah, The thing is that I actually fixed the smoke detector. Lo and behold, I braved a ladder, and
Why would why would you do that to our audience? Why would you mislead them?
why would I lie to our audience?
Yes.
Well, first of all, because they criticized me after episode 1. Secondly, because I lie to everyone.
That's
It's
true.
what it's what I do. It's like 90% of my humor is just lying about things and then immediately caving afterwards. So, anyways, yes. So the smoke detector. I'm actually in my office right now, still working. So that's why it's not here. Anyway, so my love and hate. Love about the game. I love Blackout. Like I hated Fortnite, and PUBG was just a little too, cavemanish for me. It was a little too rough around the edges for me. Yeah.
Broken.
And then yeah, it was a little too broken exactly. And then with Fortnite, like I hate like the cartoony bullshit. I do not like it. Not a fan of
I don't
it.
like the build aspect. Some people do, but I don't really like the build aspect of it.
So I love Blackout. I love the battle royale mode of Black Ops 4 because I just love tactics. I love that level of strategy. It's close to things like Search and Destroy, Demolition, the objective based games, and multiplayer, but it's at a higher level. That's it. Like I love that, and the hate. I hate like it still has like the stereotypical Call of Duty, BS where you could be shooting someone and then they just like jump like 3 times and then just shoot you with like 2 bullets and you're dead.
And it just rips through you like fucking butter.
It's like Mike Tyson fighting a baby
Yeah.
is what it feels like sometimes. So I mean that's it. Other than that, I don't mind the spawning isn't as bad. I much rather have it flip every now and then just because that's my play style. Like I don't sit around and like camp like you do. I actually just run and gun the entire time. High mortality rate with that play style, and high kill count
But the thing
with that
about
play
that,
style.
Ernesto, is so with my hate and then your hate combined, that's where it gets irritating. It's not just the.
Well, I'd rather have spawn flips and spawn issues than being able to get spawn trapped like I did in Black Ops 2 every other game.
I mean,
See, that's frustrating. People spawning right beside me. I mean, it's half of the time. Yes, it sucks. Half the time, it's like a freaking buffet, and I just get
I'm
to
just saying
like.
you haven't. I don't think you've played a lot of multiplayer in Black Ops 4. You've said you like Blackout. With the multiplayer, I mean, all the team has to do is hold mid, and then they can spawn trap you. They can just fuck you over.
I know, so just hold mid. A true master never blames his tools, Popeye. Remember that, my son.
Oh my gosh,
Anyways,
here we go.
so yeah, that's about it. That's the love hate, like the tactical aspect, and then the hate is it's still Call of Duty with the whole damage ratio. I don't know how they code that, what that looks like, but it's just insane. It always has been. It's always been an issue.
A gun I've been using to actually help out though is like the Hades. The Hades is pretty good. I would even say maybe a little bit better than the Titan.
Oh, yeah, the Hades is beast. The Hades is like what the Hammer was back in Black Ops 2.
Yeah.
So it's like the assault rifle type LMG. And I heard the other day that in Blackout, the way you can kind of guesstimate the power of the gun is actually like the ammo type, the type of ammo that it takes.
Yeah.
It's like real life. So like the 50 cal weapons, like they do infinitely more damage than like the 9mm weapons.
Oh yeah.
So like the higher the ammo type, the more damage it doles out, which I thought was a cool feature. So that's about it. That's my love hate for Black Ops 4. Awesome game. Played the shit out of it the last couple of weeks. I don't think you should have spent the $200 on the limited edition, collector's edition, or whatever BS.
I agree.
But that's my opinion. Insanulous amount of money.
I mean, he got that puzzle. Come on now.
You got a puzzle. You got a puzzle and posters
Anyway,
and patches.
And a comic book.
Don't. You're not helping yourself.
I know how you think that helped your case, but I don't think that it did.
That's like I was on a boat with Scott and Jack Bailey and a bunch of guys from back in our hometown, and we got stopped by like the boat police. And so when they stop you, they like do the safety check and make sure you have all your equipment. And so like Jack's pulling everything out, and Jack had been drinking a little bit, and so he was like pissed, and he was like he like fire extinguisher, a whistle, a second whistle. That's like, that's how you kind of said comic book right there. You're like, a comic book? I'm like, not helping.
I feel like Scott has gotten pulled over by those guys so many times because I can tell you a good handful of times that it's happened when I was there too.
Yeah, well, he's an idiot. That attributes to that pullover rate. So, anyways, moving on with Black Ops 4.
So I guess the main mode that we've all played together is Blackout, which is Ernesto's favorite mode. And this is probably super counterintuitive, but just to explain for anybody who might not know, like the giant trend in gaming right now, it is basically Hunger Games in video game form. And if you don't know what Hunger Games is, I don't know how to really help you, but it's basically the last person alive. So we will go in as a group of either 3 or 4 of us, and we try to be the last out of, what is it, 100 people? 88? Something like that?
100 quads.
100 people, and be the last ones.
25 teams.
Correct. So we approach this as strategically as the 3 of us can possibly do it, and we get mixed results.
Yeah, we've learned some stuff. About each other's play style. And I think the most interesting one is like when everyone else dies and you're just watching one person.
Yes, you learn a lot real quick.
What it does is like there's a perimeter starting out, and slowly but surely it gets smaller and smaller and smaller in the map, just kind of forcing all the participants together. You know, we play it in different ways. So Popeye, for example, he goes a much stealthier route than Ernesto does, and sticks to the shadows, avoids combat, slinks around until he's in that number, that the last 10 or so, and then goes out and tries to make something of it. And then you have Ernesto, who this most recent time spent the majority of the match driving around in a giant truck and running people over, and actually ended up in the top 10. And it was the most impressive thing that any of you guys had ever seen.
It was hilarious.
It was. We had a clip. I'll try to get the clip and put it on our Instagram page. It made 0 sense because like the trucks are only operable when someone's in it. They're only on running when someone's in it. And I was in this thing the entire time, and people would literally just, if I wasn't in motion, they would just walk around me. No one attempted to get in, which I thought was bizarre. And unfortunately, Popeye was not there to witness this, but it was by far, it was like when I ran those guys over, it was by far one of the funniest moments I think me and Wayne have experienced together.
I was dying.
It was pretty funny when I watched it. Yeah.
It was very funny. It just playing the game and knowing that scenario should never ever happen, and it did, it's just too funny.
Well, when I was watching it, there was like no you guys didn't really tell me what was going to happen. I just started watching it. So I see a truck, and then I see 3 guys, and I'm like, okay, what's so significant about this? Until you're like, I'm spectating Ernesto. And then you're like, oh yeah, you go into third person when you're in a vehicle. And then that's when like my brain started getting the idea. I was like, there's no fucking way these guys don't see him. And it was good. That was good.
Yeah, I mean, it made 0 sense, but it was literally like we were laughing for a solid, 30, 45 seconds straight, just not talking. It was so good. Anyways, and so there's a lot of like teamwork, and there's a lot of like a team dynamic. And Andy, who was supposed to be our guest one of these weeks, but it's just not in the budget right now. He plays very differently than someone who wisely tries to win, and he makes a lot of bold moves, Cotton. He makes a lot of bold moves.
Well, it's like if you say, okay, let's not do this.
He does it.
Andy's already been doing it for 5 fucking minutes. So it's like he's already ahead of the game of doing what he's not supposed to. It's crazy. I don't know how he pulls it off.
The best thing ever is you're like everyone hears it when you fire, like throughout a certain radius. And so like it's the easiest way.
The goal is to not.
Yeah, the goal is to
Yeah.
not give away your position, and that is the easiest way to give up your position. And there could be a guy meters out. Andy doesn't have a snowball's chance in frickin' hell of hitting this guy, but simply because, like, no joke, like a direct quote, he's in my sights and I'm silenced. And he's just pop, 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 pop. Meters away, like there's no way, even if he was like the best shot in the world, he could hit this guy. And then literally seconds later, Andy just gets lit up from behind, dies. And it's like that's him. Like that's him in a nutshell, just doing things like that.
It reminds me of the scene in Family Guy when Peter is in Anne Frank's attic and and Peter opens up a bag of potato chips.
Yes.
And they're trying to hide and not be seen, and Peter just starts chewing on these chips.
Crunch.
Makes the
Everyone
crunchy
just, like,
noise, and everyone knows.
looks at him in horror, and he just like slowly puts another one in his mouth. Crunch. Oh my gosh, that's what it is. And then I think it's hilarious. It's so fun because he's not here, so he can't really defend himself. I think that would his take on this would be good. But there, when I tell you guys, there's a phenomenon that if Andy lands when you start the game, you wingsuit in from helicopters. So you go down, you're unarmed, and you just pick wherever you want to land. And there's weapons strewn on the ground, but you got to find them. It's not like they're just everywhere. And so people can land next to you in the same spot, and it's a race to find a gun. And if Andy lands next to someone in the beginning of the game, he does not survive. He cannot. I told him it's like he plays hot potato with a hand grenade, and he just cannot handle the pressure, and he dies every single time. And it's the funniest thing ever. So you literally have to watch him at the beginning of the game.
You have to watch him the whole game.
No, I mean, yes, that's true, but especially in the beginning when he's unarmed, it's like a baby duck. Like he's absolutely defenseless. If anything came by, it could kill him. I mean, yeah, it's just crazy, and there's so many variables. There's so many different things that can happen, and we have yet to like really drop into every single place there, and never ends the same way. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic game mode. But it really begs a question. Last week we did some a segment called Master Debaters, and one of the topics that just didn't make it to the cutting room floor was whether or not we could pull off a heist. And this kind of highlights some of the things that we would run into if we were to ever attempt to pull off a heist. And I still think we could, as long as Andy wasn't around.
Really?
I really do.
I think after this week of playing this game with you guys, I just don't see that. I feel like we all have very different mindsets, which is good for a strategy. But I don't feel like there's enough coordination that it could be pulled off. Not to mention, you'd have to be the muscle, the driver, and probably the smooth talker.
The smooth talker and half of the brains.
Okay.
I am arguably, I would put myself up there as the best strategist.
The problem, you're a great strategist in the moment, but your preparation, not so much.
Oh, it's terrible. No, I'm very fly by the seat of your pants. I'll figure it out. Like, throw me off a cliff, I'll figure it out on my way down.
I feel like if you're performing a heist, that there should be lots of research. You should be staking the joint out. You should be having plans. You should be having multiple options.
Because I said half the brain. So you're the other half. With all the preparation, and I'm pure finesse. Like you're Phil Jackson, I'm Michael Jordan. That's what it's like. Like that's what it'd be like on a heist. Like you're the coach, but I'm the freaking playmaker. All right, give Ernesto the gun, give Ernesto the armor. Andy and Papa are the Fallout guys. You're in a van down by the river. And then I'll just find a driver. Asian, of course.
We're gonna have to cut that out.
No, keep that in, please. Keep that in. Keep this in, please. I don't want that edited. But no, I feel like the pieces are there. And even though, yes, there are completely different play styles, completely different personalities, ideologies, there's a lot of times where we don't see eye and eye on many, many things, but there's still a certain level of synergy. And when we lock in, don't really count on Andy to do a lot, we're fine.
See, my problem with the heist and the game that we play
what's your problem with the heist? What would go wrong if you planned the heist and I was an integral part of planning said heist and putting the pieces together, and then we just performed said heist? I feel like it'd be fine.
I'll give you a real world example, and by real world I mean a situation that happened in the game. We will all plan and agree to go to a certain location. 3 of us are there. 1 of us is not there. And I understand that sometimes that has worked out in the past, but I feel like more often than not, the 3 of us are left stranded, and we need one person who, as you say so eloquently, is the muscle, is not there. And it does not work out well for us. I see a plan where we're in the van, we're trying to escape from the heist, and Ernesto's at the second bank that we did not plan to rob.
See, I'm robbing the second bank while they're chasing after you after we robbed the first bank. That was the real heist all along. No, I mean, whenever that was the case, it was because I didn't agree fully with where we were going.
And I'm glad that you were vocal about it until literally in the moment.
Yeah, when we don't ever talk about it because Ernesto's usually bullshitting with Andy. And then I'm like, hey, where should we drop? And then Ernesto's like, I don't know. Where? And then somebody will say something. That's when it stops. So if you didn't agree, you should have said something. But no, after we all died, that's when he says something. He's like, oh, well, I knew we shouldn't have gone there.
I just want to point out that in these scenarios, both every time this happened, I am the lone survivor. I'm just pointing it out there. And that's why I said, yes, there are, opposing forces here. But when we lock in and there's synergy there and we're all on the same page, like when we got the victory the other night, we all were like, all right, train station. Let's get a train station.
The problem for me is that if we don't agree, or like only one person picks the spot and we don't do well, we just blame that person and we just say like, oh yeah, like that was a poor plan. It's just like we have to go to a place, commit to it, and say this is what's going to happen. And like we cannot do that. Which just
I feel like we could.
We could.
In a video game, very rare. But if like millions of dollars were at stake, then I feel like I could set. It'd be a tough one, but I feel like I could set my ego aside just that once to come to an agreement.
And there is where I win the argument, because there's no way we could pull off a heist if your ego is still intact, which it cannot be removed. So there you go.
It can't. It has a mind of its own. It handles the controls. I'm just moving parts. We're just gonna have to try it and see what goes down.
All right, I'll start working on the plans now, since none of you guys would assist with that.
You heard it here first. Planning a heist.
Yes, Popeye can get the monkey.
And if anyone wants more information on how and when we are going to strike, please contact Andy Massengale. So next week is the precursor to Halloween. Yes.
Yes.
So I think it makes sense that next week's episode should be about Halloween.
Absolutely.
So this would be a good one. Past Halloweens, our favorite aspect of Halloween. And we've had some rip-roaring Halloween, so it's definitely going to be a fun one for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. If anyone's got some comments or questions too, anything Halloween related, just send it our way.
Yep, and then once again, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube page. You can also find us on Facebook. I feel like that's it. I feel like we can sign off.
All right. Later, guys.
As my people say, adios.
See ya.